Commander Kuehl sat in his metal chair, looking at the glowing screen in front of him. His three eyes moved back and forth as he read the same words again and again. 3 fleets had gone to attack a small blue planet called Earth. None of them came back home. The first fleet belonged to the mighty Zorkan Empire, 500 ships with the best weapons in the galaxy. They sent their last message 3 days after reaching Earth. After that, nothing. Complete silence. The second fleet was even bigger. The Crystal Federation brought 800 ships and their famous energy shields that could stop any attack. Their commander was so confident that he promised to send Earth's surrender message within 1 week. That was 2 months ago, still no word from them. The third fleet made Kuehl's skin crawl with fear. The Shadow Collective sent their bioships, living creatures that could heal themselves and grow stronger after each battle. These ships had never lost a fight in 300 years. They reached Earth's solar system and then vanished like smoke in the wind. "Sir, you look worried," said his assistant, a young officer with bright green scales. "What could be wrong?" Kuehl pushed the reports across his desk. "Look at this. 3 different species, 3 different types of technology. All of them gone, without a trace." Admiral Beck walked into the room at that moment. He was old, with scars covering his thick blue skin. He had fought in more wars than anyone else in the Council. When he saw Kuehl's worried face, he laughed. "You're thinking too much, Commander," Beck said, picking up the reports. "This Earth planet is nothing special. I checked their technology. Myself. They barely have ships that can fly between planets. Most of their weapons still use old chemical explosives. But Admiral," Kuehl said carefully, 3 fleets don't just disappear. Something happened to them." Beck threw the papers back on the desk. "Maybe they got lost, maybe they had accidents, and space is dangerous, you know. But there's no way some primitive monkey creatures defeated our best fleets." Captain Nara had been quiet in the corner, studying her own copy of the data. She was known for being very careful and smart. Other officers often asked for her opinion before making big decisions. "The timing bothers me," she said slowly. "Each fleet arrived at Earth exactly when they planned to. Their last messages were normal, no signs of trouble. Then suddenly complete silence. No emergency signals, no calls for help, no wreckage floating in space." "So what?" Beck snorted. "Maybe these humans have some kind of new weapon we don't know about. We'll just send more ships. Problem solved." Kuehl felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Admiral, what if sending more ships is exactly what they want us to do?" Beck stared at him with angry red eyes. "Are you saying these humans are smarter than us? That they planned this somehow?" "I'm saying we should be careful," Kuehl replied. "Maybe we should send scouts first. Small, fast ships that can run away if there's danger." "Nonsense," Beck slammed his fist on the desk. "The 4th Armada is our strongest fleet, 2,000 ships with the newest weapons and shields. If there's some secret weapon on Earth, we'll find it and destroy it." Captain Nara looked at the star maps on the wall. Earth was far from the center of the galaxy, in a quiet area where nothing important ever happened. The humans had only learned to fly in space 50 years ago. They had no allies, no special technology, no reason to be dangerous, but 3 fleets were gone. That was a fact no one could ignore. "I'll prepare the 4th Armada," she said finally. "But I'm also going to prepare our fastest messenger ships. If something goes wrong, at least we'll be able to warn the Council." Admiral Beck nodded with satisfaction. "Good. We'll show these humans what happens when they mess with the Galactic Council. Earth will burn, and then we'll find out what happened to our missing fleets." As the meeting ended, Kuehl couldn't shake his worried feelings. Something about this felt very wrong. The 4th Armada's 2,000 ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system in a flash of blue light. Admiral Bayek stood on his command bridge, expecting to see floating pieces of metal and dead ships scattered around the planet. That's what always happened when civilizations tried to fight the Galactic Council. Instead, his scanner officer's voice cracked with confusion. "Sir, I'm reading massive orbital stations around the planet. They're armed with weapons I don't recognize." Beck frowned and looked at the main screen. Huge metal platforms floated in perfect formation around Earth. Each one bristled with weapon ports and shield generators. But something about them looked wrong, like they were built from pieces of different ships welded together. "Impossible," Beck muttered. 3 months ago, these humans barely had space stations. How did they build all this? His weapons officer, A nervous young alien with 4 arms pointed at his readings. "Admiral, those aren't human designs. The energy signatures match Zorkan plasma technology, Crystal Federation shield systems, and Shadow Collective biometal hulls." A cold feeling crept up Bayek's spine. Those were the 3 fleets that had gone missing. But how could primitive humans be using their technology? "Open communications," Beck ordered, trying to sound confident. "All frequencies. Let's end this quickly." The communication array activated, and Beck's image was broadcast to every human station and ship in the system. He had practiced this speech many times. It always worked. "Attention, inhabitants of Earth," his voice boomed across space. "I am Admiral Bayek of the Galactic Council's 4th Armada. You will surrender immediately and prepare for occupation. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your planet. You have 5 minutes to comply." For a moment, there was only silence. Then a human voice answered, calm and clear, speaking in perfect galactic standard language. "Admiral Bayek, this is Earth Defense Command. We've been expecting you. You're the 4th fleet to make that exact same demand." The others didn't fare too well. Beck's confidence wavered. "What happened to the previous fleets? Answer me." "Oh, they're still here," the human voice replied, with what sounded almost like amusement. "Well, parts of them anyway. We've been putting their technology to good use. Would you like to see?" Suddenly, space around the 4th Armada began to shimmer and warp. Ships appeared from nowhere, materializing out of invisible hiding spots. Hundreds of them all around Bayek's fleet. But these weren't the crude human ships he expected. These vessels gleamed with familiar energy shields, the same ones used by the Crystal Federation. Their hulls showed the organic curves of Shadow, collective bioships, and mounted on their fronts were the unmistakable green glow of Zorkan plasma cannons. "Those are our weapons," Bayek's tactical officer shouted in panic. "Sir, they're using our own technology against us." The human commander's voice came through the speakers again, no longer friendly. "You came here thinking we were helpless prey, but you made a mistake, Admiral. Humans learn very quickly, and we learn best when someone tries to kill us. Red targeting." Beams suddenly painted Bayek's flagship from dozens of directions. His shield screamed warnings as human ships locked onto his vessel with weapons that should have been impossible for them to possess. "How?" Bayek whispered, staring at the screen. "In disbelief." "Simple," the human replied. "Every time someone attacks us, we take their toys apart and figure out how they work. Then we make them better. The Zorkans taught us about plasma weapons. The Crystal Federation showed us shield technology. The Shadow Collective gave us bioengineering. Secrets." More human ships kept appearing, decloaking from hiding spots throughout the solar system. Each one was different, clearly built from salvaged alien technology, but modified in ways that made them deadlier than the originals. "You should have stayed home, Admiral," the human voice said coldly. "But since you're here, we'll add your ships to our collection. Thank you for the upgrade." 6 months before Admiral Bayek's arrival, Earth was a much quieter place. Captain Jiho sat in the command center of Lunar Base, drinking his morning coffee and reading routine patrol reports. Earth's defense fleet consisted of 37 ships, most of them converted cargo vessels with basic weapons bolted on. They were enough to handle space pirates or small conflicts, but nothing more. That peaceful morning ended when the sensors started screaming. "Captain!" Operator Minji's voice cracked with fear. "Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace, big ones, really big ones." Jiho set down his coffee and looked at the main screen. 60 massive ships appeared in formation around Earth's outer colonies. Each vessel was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Their hulls gleamed with advanced metal that seemed to absorb light, and energy weapons glowed along their sides like angry red eyes. "This is Fleet Commander Vex of the Vorthan Empire," a harsh alien voice announced over all communication channels. "Your species has been selected for conquest. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist and we will make your planet burn for days." Captain Jiho had trained for this moment his entire career, but he never thought it would actually happen. "All ships, battle stations, evacuate the outer colonies immediately." The Vorthan ships didn't wait for an answer. Bright green plasma beams lanced out from their weapons, striking the human mining stations on Europa and Titan. The colonies exploded. in brilliant flashes, taking thousands of lives in seconds. But something strange happened. Instead of pressing their attack toward Earth, the Vorthan ships stopped. They seemed to be waiting, probably expecting humans to surrender in terror. That was their first mistake. Engineer Sora was working late in her lab when the attack began. She watched the destruction on her screens and felt something cold and angry settle in her chest. These aliens thought humans would just give up and die quietly. They were wrong. "Get me every piece of wreckage from those stations," she told her team. "I want to see what these plasma weapons are made of." Within hours, human salvage ships were racing through the debris fields, collecting fragments of Vorthan weapons and armor. The aliens shot at them, but the small, fast human ships were hard to hit. More importantly, every piece of alien technology that survived gave Sora's team new information. "Look at this," she said, holding up a chunk of green crystal that still glowed with residual energy. "Their plasma weapons use a focused energy beam at a specific frequency. It's powerful, but it's also predictable." Her assistant, young engineer Hyun, looked confused. "Predictable how?" Sora smiled grimly. "If you know the frequency, you can build shields that reflect it back. Better yet, you can build weapons that use the same frequency, but with more power." For 3 days and nights, Sora's team worked without rest. They took apart every piece of Vorthan technology they could find. They studied the metal composition of their hulls, the energy patterns of their shields, even the way their computer systems worked. Meanwhile, Captain Jiho was fighting a losing battle. His small fleet couldn't match the Vorthan firepower. Every day he lost more ships and more good people. The aliens were slowly pushing toward Earth, destroying everything in their path. But on the 4th day, something changed. "Captain," Sora's voice came through the communication system, tired but excited. "We've got something for you. New plasma cannons built from their own technology but improved. These ones hit twice as hard and use half the energy." The first human ship equipped with reverse-engineered Vorthan weapons was the destroyer Sol. When it engaged a Vorthan cruiser, the alien ship's shields collapsed in seconds. The Vorthan commander's shocked voice came over the radio. "Impossible! How do they have our weapons?" By the end of the 2nd week, human ships were hunting Vorthan, vessels through the asteroid belt. The aliens found themselves outgunned by their own technology, improved by human engineering and powered by human determination. The Vorthan retreat turned into a rout. Their survivors sent desperate messages back to their empire. The humans: "Learn too fast? They take our weapons and make them better. Don't send more ships," but it was too late. Other alien empires had already heard about the easy conquest on Earth. They were coming too. 2 months after the Vorthan defeat, Earth's early warning systems detected another massive fleet approaching. This time, the ships looked completely different. Instead of metal hulls, these vessels appeared to be made of living crystal that sparkled like diamonds in the starlight. Admiral Kiwon stood on the bridge of the newly constructed Earth defense ship Busan, watching the alien fleet take position around Jupiter. The ship beneath his feet was a perfect example of human adaptation, built with a Vorthan hull design, but powered by human nuclear fusion and armed with improved plasma weapons that hit 3 times harder than the originals. "Incoming transmission," reported Communications Officer Do-hyun. The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall, elegant alien with skin that looked like polished blue crystal. When it spoke, its voice chimed like wind through glass sculptures. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am High Commander Zix of the Crystalline Confederacy. We have heard of your conflict with the primitive Vorthan Empire. We are not so easily defeated, Admiral." Kiwon leaned back in his command chair. "Let me guess. You want us to surrender or you'll destroy our planet?" "Precisely," the crystal alien replied, with what might have been a smile. "However, we are civilized beings. We offer you a choice. Serve us willingly, and your species will be preserved as workers. Resist and you will be eliminated efficiently." "Counter-offer," Kiwon said calmly. "Turn around and go home. We're getting pretty good at recycling alien technology." High Commander Zix laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "The Vorthan were fools who relied on brute force. Our quantum barriers are adaptive. They learn from each attack and become stronger. Your stolen plasma weapons are useless against us. The crystalline ships moved into attack formation. Unlike the Vorthon vessels, these moved with grace and precision, their crystal hulls shifting color as their shields activated. Shimmering barriers appeared around each ship, not solid like human or Vorthon shields, but constantly changing, flowing energy fields that seemed to bend space itself. "All ships, engage," Admiral Kaiwan ordered. The human fleet opened fire with their modified Vorthon plasma cannons. The green energy beams struck the crystalline barriers and bounced off harmlessly. The quantum shields absorbed the energy and grew brighter. "As you can see," High Commander Zix's voice came over the Yar. "Communications. Your weapons only make us stronger. Surrender now." But Admiral Kiwan was smiling. "Scientist Yuri, are you monitoring this?" Dr. Yuri's excited voice came through from the research station orbiting Mars. "Oh yes, Admiral. This is fascinating. Their shields adapt to energy frequency, but they have a reset cycle. Every 45 seconds, they have to refresh their quantum matrix. And during that reset, they're completely vulnerable for exactly 2 seconds. Admiral Kiwan nodded to his weapons officer. "All ships, hold fire. Wait for my signal." The crystalline Confederacy ships moved closer, probably thinking the humans had given up. Their beautiful crystal hulls glowed with confidence as their adaptive shields grew stronger from absorbing the earlier attacks. Kiwan watched his timer count down. 43 seconds. 44. 45. Now. All ships. Concentrated fire. Every human ship fired at once during that brief 2-second window. Without their quantum barriers, the crystalline hulls shattered like glass windows hit by hammers. 12 enemy ships exploded in the first volley. "Impossible!" High Commander Zix screamed. "Our shields are perfect!" "Nothing's perfect, Admiral," Kiwan replied. "We humans are really good at finding flaws." The battle became a pattern. The human fleet would wait, observe the shield reset cycles, then strike with perfect timing. Each crystalline ship that fell gave them more information about quantum barrier technology. Within 47 minutes, half the crystalline Confederacy fleet was destroyed. The survivors tried to retreat, but human ships had been positioned at every escape route. More importantly, the humans weren't just destroying the alien vessels, they were carefully disabling them to preserve the technology inside. Dr. Yuri's salvage teams worked through the wreckage with the efficiency of experienced surgeons. "These quantum cores are incredible," she reported to Admiral Kiwan. "They can generate power at levels we never thought possible, perfect for building larger orbital platforms." "What about their adaptive shield technology?" "Even better. We can reverse engineer it and remove the reset vulnerability. Imagine shields that get stronger every time they're hit, but never have to refresh." High Commander Zix's damaged flagship limped toward the edge of the solar system, its once beautiful crystal hull cracked and leaking atmosphere. "This isn't over, humans. Others will come. Stronger ones." "We're counting on it," Admiral Kiwan replied cheerfully. "Thanks for the upgrade." As the surviving crystalline ships jumped to hyperspace, Earth's orbital shipyards were already beginning construction on new defensive platforms powered by quantum cores and protected by adaptive shields that humans had improved beyond their original design. The galaxy was starting to learn a troubling truth. Attacking Earth only made humans more dangerous. 3 months after the crystalline Confederacy's defeat, something far worse was coming to Earth. The Nexus Collective didn't travel in normal ships. Instead, they moved through space in massive organic vessels that looked like giant floating brains, covered in pulsing veins and glowing neural pathways. Dr. Nari studied the approaching fleet from her research station, feeling genuine fear for the first time since the alien invasions began. "This is different," she told Captain Inho over the communication link. "The previous attackers wanted to conquer us or kill us. These things want to absorb us." The Nexus Collective was legendary. Throughout the galaxy, they were a hive mind, millions of individual beings connected into one massive shared consciousness. Every species they encountered was either destroyed or assimilated, their minds absorbed into the collective network until they lost all individual thought. "How many species have they consumed?" Captain Inho asked, reviewing the intelligence. Reports. 437 confirmed, Dr. Nari replied grimly. Maybe more. Once a species joins the collective, they stop existing as individuals. Their knowledge, their culture, everything becomes part of the hive mind. The Nexus ships didn't bother with demands or threats. They simply began surrounding Earth, their biovessels pulsing with psychic energy that made sensitive humans feel dizzy and confused. Then their leader's voice echoed directly inside every human mind on the planet. We are the Nexus Collective. Your species shows promise. You will be absorbed into our network. Your individual thoughts are inefficient. We offer you perfection through unity. Unlike previous alien commanders, this wasn't a conversation. The hive mind was simply stating facts, like announcing the weather. Captain Inho had been preparing for this moment ever since they detected the collective's approach. Dr. Nari, are you ready with the neural blockers? As ready as we can be, she replied nervously. But Captain, we've never tested this against a real hive mind. We don't know if it will work. Only one way to find out. Captain Inho activated his ship's distress beacon and powered down his weapons. Nexus Collective, this is Captain Inho of Earth Defense. I surrender. My ship is disabled. Please don't hurt my crew. The nearest bioship immediately moved toward him, extending long tentacle-like appendages that attached to his vessel's hull. Captain Inho felt a strange tingling in his mind as the aliens began their assimilation process. Perfect, the hive mind's voice whispered in his thoughts. Your knowledge of human military tactics will be useful. Do not resist. Unity is bliss. But Captain Inho wasn't really surrendering. Hidden in his brain was a special neural implant designed by Dr. Nari's team. Instead of blocking the alien connection, it was designed to do something much more dangerous. It would let the hive mind into his thoughts, but it would also let his individual human consciousness flow back into their network. Beginning assimilation, the collective announced. Captain Inho felt alien thoughts pressing into his mind, trying to absorb his memories and personality into their unified consciousness. That's when he released his secret weapon, pure human stubbornness. I am Captain Inho, he thought as hard as he could. I like chocolate ice cream and terrible old movies. I hate Brussels sprouts and people who don't use turn signals. I believe in individual freedom and the right to make my own stupid mistakes. These weren't grand philosophical ideas or military strategies. They were simple personal thoughts that made him uniquely himself, and through the neural link, they began spreading into the hive mind. Dr. Nari watched the neural readings from her station, barely able to believe what she was seeing. It's working. The collective is experiencing individual thoughts for the first time. Their unified consciousness is fragmenting. Across the bioships, something unprecedented was happening. Members of the collective were suddenly experiencing personal preferences, individual memories, and private thoughts. A former warrior from a conquered world suddenly remembered his mother's cooking. A scientist absorbed decades ago began thinking about her own research projects instead of the collective's goals. What is happening? The hive mind's voice was no longer unified. It sounded confused, scared, and most terrifying of all for a collective consciousness. It sounded like many different voices speaking at once. Humans don't assimilate, Captain Inho said, his individual voice somehow audible through the neural network. We infect. Every human you try to absorb will make you more human and less collective. The effect spread like a virus through the bioships. Thousands of assimilated beings were suddenly remembering what it felt like to be individuals. They began questioning orders, making personal choices, and worst of all for a hive mind, disagreeing with each other. Impossible, the collective screamed, but now it was clearly multiple voices arguing. Unity must be maintained. Individual thought. Here's chaos. Actually, Captain Inho replied cheerfully, individual thought is pretty great. You should try it sometime. The bioships began retreating in panic, but the damage was done. Dr. Nari's sensors detected massive neural disruptions throughout their fleet as the virus of human individuality continued spreading through their network. They're leaving behind some of their bioships, Dr. Nari reported excitedly. The crews have been so infected with individual thought that they can't maintain the hive-mind connection anymore. As the main collective fleet fled toward the edge of the solar system, the abandoned biovessels drifted helplessly in space. Their former crews, now thinking as individuals for the first time in centuries, began sending confused messages asking for asylum on Earth. Dr. Nari's salvage teams found themselves with a completely new type of alien technology to study, living ships with bio-neural networks that could interface directly with organic minds. "Captain," she told Inho after he was safely back on Earth, "I think we just gained the ability to build living starships." Admiral Tay stared at his tactical display in growing horror. The human fleet moving toward his position looked like nothing he had ever seen before. Each ship was different, as if built by a dozen different species and then somehow made to work together perfectly. "Sir," his scanner operator reported with a shaky voice, "I'm reading energy signatures from at least 4 different alien technologies on each human vessel." The lead human ship caught Tay's attention immediately. Its hull had the sleek curves of Vorthan engineering, but it was covered in the shimmering crystal plating that belonged to the Confederacy. Organic neural cables from Nexus bioships ran along its surface like veins, pulsing with soft blue light. "How is this possible?" Tay muttered. "These technologies shouldn't work together. They're completely incompatible." The last words Admiral Tay heard before his own ship was boarded were spoken with the calm confidence of a predator that had never failed to catch its prey. "Thank you for the upgrade." Admiral Tay's damaged flagship limped away from Earth's solar system with only 12 ships remaining from his once mighty fleet of 2,000. Behind them, human salvage teams were already dismantling the captured vessels, turning enemy technology into new weapons and defenses. "Jump coordinates locked in," his navigator reported with shaking hands. "Next hyperspace point is the Kepler station. From there we can reach Council space in 6 jumps." "Do it," Tay ordered, desperate to escape the nightmare that Earth had become. "Send a priority message to High Command. Tell them not to send any more fleets to Earth." The surviving ships entered hyperspace, that strange realm between dimensions where faster-than-light travel was possible. For a few moments, Admiral Tay allowed himself to hope that they had escaped. Then they dropped back into normal space at the Kepler jump point, and his hope died. Human ships were waiting for them. Not just a few vessels, but dozens of them, positioned perfectly around the hyperspace exit point. They had the same mixed technology he had seen at Earth, Vorthan hulls with crystalline shields and Nexus bio-neural networks glowing along their surfaces. "How?" Tay whispered, staring at the impossible sight. "How did they get here before us?" His science officer checked her instruments frantically. "Sir, they're using some kind of quantum tunneling technology. It's based on crystalline space-folding principles, but modified beyond anything I've seen before." Captain Juan's voice came through their communications, calm and confident. "Admiral Tay, welcome to Kepler Station. I hope you enjoyed your brief trip through hyperspace." "This is impossible," Tay shouted. "We left Earth less than an hour ago." "Oh, we've been here for weeks," Captain Juan replied cheerfully. "You see, Navigator Dami cracked your navigation protocols months ago. We know every hyperspace route the Galactic Council uses. We've been placing ships at strategic jump points throughout this sector." Admiral Tay felt a cold realization creep through his mind. "You're not just hunting us. You're herding us." "Very good, Admiral. We want some of you to escape. How else will the Galactic Council learn what happened here?" The human ships opened fire, but not to destroy. With surgical precision, they disabled 3 more of Tay's vessels, while allowing the rest to continue their retreat. The pattern was becoming clear. The humans were controlling exactly how many ships escaped, and which ones. "Next jump point," Tay ordered desperately. "The Centauri Gateway." They jumped again, and again found human ships waiting. This time only 6 alien vessels were allowed to continue. The humans took their time, carefully selecting which ships to capture based on their technology and crew composition. At the 3rd jump point, Captain Mira of the human destroyer Incheon contacted them directly. "Admiral Tay, you're doing excellent work as our messenger, but we need to make sure your story is believable." "What do you mean?" Tay asked, though he dreaded the answer. Well, if too many ships escape, the Council might think you're exaggerating the threat. If too few escape, they might not believe. Any of you. We're aiming for just the right amount of survivors to create maximum panic. By the fourth jump point, only 3 alien ships remained. The humans had been harvesting crews, technology, and information at each stop, while allowing just enough survivors to continue carrying their message of terror. "Why are you doing this to us?" Admiral Tay asked over the communication array as human ships surrounded his final vessels. Captain June's voice answered from the lead human ship. "Because the Galactic Council has grown fat and lazy from ruling unopposed for so long. You've forgotten what it feels like to be hunted. We're here to remind you." "What do you want? Resources? Territory? We can negotiate. We don't want your territory, Admiral. We want your technology, all of it, from every species in the Council, and the best way to get it is to let you bring it to us." The final jump brought them to the edge of Council space, where massive defense stations orbited the core worlds. Admiral Tay's ship was badly damaged, his crew traumatized, and his pride completely shattered. "Send a priority transmission to whole Council worlds," he ordered his communications officer. "Tell them the humans are coming." As his desperate message spread through Council space, reporting the impossible defeat of the Fourth Armada, human ships were already moving through hyperspace toward their next targets. But they weren't coming as conquerors seeking territory. They were coming as hunters who had found a galaxy full of prey. Navigator Dami's voice reached Admiral Tay one final time as his battered ship limped toward the safety of the Council's core. "Worlds, run, Admiral. Tell them what's coming. Tell them that humanity is no longer defending Earth. Tell them we're coming for everyone." The message that reached the Galactic Council High Command was simple and terrifying. The humans aren't just defending anymore, they're hunting, and they're coming for all of us. For the first time in 1,000 years, the rulers of the galaxy felt genuine fear. Admiral Tay sat in his prison cell, staring out the window at the impossible sight beyond. Human fleets were jumping to hyperspace in perfect formation, heading toward the galactic core, where the Council's most important worlds waited in fear. But these weren't the same primitive ships that had defended Earth 6 months ago. These vessels gleamed with technology from dozens of different species. Vorthan plasma cannons had been improved and mounted alongside crystalline quantum torpedoes. Nexus bio-neural networks allowed the ships to coordinate like a hive mind while maintaining human creativity. And now, thanks to Admiral Tay's own fleet, they carried Council gravitational weapons and phase shift shields. "Impressive, isn't it?" Commander Ara's voice came from behind him. She entered his comfortable cell carrying 2 cups of coffee, offering one to her prisoner with the casual friendliness of an old colleague. Tay accepted the coffee but didn't drink it. "How many Council worlds have fallen?" "Fallen is the wrong word," Ara replied, settling into the chair across from him. "We don't conquer worlds, Admiral. We liberate them." Through the window, Tay could see one of the human transport ships docking with the prison station. Thousands of beings disembarked. Former slaves and oppressed populations from Council worlds, now free to choose their own destinies. "The Zelkan mining colonies asked to join us after we broke their slave contracts," Commander Ara continued conversationally. "The Thraxian scientists were eager to share their research once they learned we actually pay people for their work. Even some of your own people have decided they prefer human employment to Council military service." Tay watched a group of his former soldiers walking freely among the humans, wearing the same uniforms and carrying the same weapons as their former enemies. "You're destroying everything the Council built." The Council built a system where a few powerful species controlled everyone else through fear and military might, Ara said calmly. "We're not destroying it. We're evolving it." "Into what?" Commander Ara stood and walked to the window, gesturing at the bustling activity outside. "Into something better. A galaxy where species work together by choice, not force. Where technology has shared for mutual benefit instead of hoarded for military advantage. And if species refuse to join you, then they're free to leave us alone," Ara replied simply. "We don't force anyone to be our ally, but we also don't allow anyone to enslave others or attack peaceful worlds." Admiral Tay finally sipped his coffee, thinking about everything he had witnessed. "You planned this from the beginning, didn't you? The way you fought our fleets, the technology you captured, even letting some of us escape to spread panic. Commander. Ara smiled. Humans are persistence predators, Admiral. We don't just hunt for food, we hunt for long-term survival. The galaxy was stagnant. The same few species had controlled everything for thousands of years, never innovating, never growing, just maintaining their power through force. So you decided to change everything. We decided to give evolution a push, Ara corrected. Every species that attacked Earth made us stronger. But more importantly, it taught us about galactic politics, military technology, and which civilizations were ready for change. Through the window, Tay watched another human fleet preparing to jump to hyperspace. This one carried thousands of volunteers from liberated worlds, eager to help spread the new order to other star systems. The Vorton Empire collapsed in 3 weeks once their slave races realized they could rebel without punishment, Commander Ara continued. The Crystalline Confederacy surrendered when their own colonies voted to join our alliance. Even the Nexus Collective has split into thousands of individual communities. And the Council? The Council is learning that military might means nothing, when your own people would rather live under someone else's protection. Ara finished her coffee and stood to leave. Half their member species have already asked to join our alliance. The other half are too proud to admit they've lost. Admiral. Tay set down his empty cup and looked directly at Commander Ara. What happens to me? That's up to you, she replied. You can stay here in comfortable retirement, or you can help us understand Council military doctrine. Some of your former officers have become valuable advisors in our diplomatic corps. And if I refuse, then you stay here in comfortable retirement, Ara repeated with a slight smile. We're not like the Council, Admiral. We don't execute prisoners or torture people for information, but we also don't need your cooperation to succeed. As Commander Ara left his cell, Admiral Tay returned to the window. In the distance, he could see Earth, the small blue planet that had somehow become the center of a galactic revolution. It looked peaceful and unremarkable, giving no hint of the predatory intelligence that had emerged from its surface. The terrible truth was finally clear to him. Humanity hadn't wanted to survive the alien attacks. They had wanted the attacks to happen. Every invasion had been an opportunity to learn, to grow stronger, and to understand their enemies better. The galaxy's greatest predators had been hiding on a backwater world, waiting patiently for prey to come to them, and now the hunt had begun in earnest.